The bridge of the Earth Defense Fleet carrier Valiant was quiet that morning. Commander Jake Morrison sat in his chair reviewing reports from the night shift. His second officer, Lieutenant Amy Parker, was checking the long-range sensors when something unusual appeared on her screen. A signal was coming through space. It was weak and broken, but it was definitely a distress call. Amy turned up the volume and listened carefully. The voice was strange, not human, speaking in a language she had never heard before. But the computer quickly translated the words into English. Someone was in trouble. Bad trouble. Captain Laura Bennett walked onto the bridge and looked at the screens. She was a tall woman with short brown hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She had been commanding ships for 15 years and had seen many difficult situations. But this was different. This was humanity's first real test in space among other alien species. The message became clearer as Amy worked on cleaning up the signal. A colony ship belonging to a species called the Valerians was under attack. Pirates called the Kraith were trying to board their vessel. The Valerian ship had over 3,000 people on board, including many children. Their weapons were not working. Their shields were failing. They had maybe 2 hours before the pirates would break through their hull. What made this message special was one important detail. The Valerians were asking specifically for human help. 3 months ago, humans had made first contact with something called the Galactic Council. This was a group of peaceful alien races that had been watching Earth from far away for a long time. The Council had been afraid to meet humans because Earth was what they called a Class 12 death world. This meant Earth was so dangerous that the beings who lived there were considered some of the most deadly creatures in known space. Laura looked at the location data. The Valerian ship was in the Theta 7 sector, about 6 hours away if they pushed their engines hard. She thought about the situation carefully. The Kraith were known throughout this part of space as cruel pirates, who took what they wanted and hurt anyone who got in their way. Intelligence reports said they had at least a dozen attack ships in that area. The Valiant was not alone. 2 destroyers called the Mercury and the Falcon were traveling with her, along with 3 smaller frigate ships. It was not a huge fleet, but Laura had confidence in her crew. Human crews had something that other species seemed to lack. They knew how to fight when things got bad. Jake pulled up more information on his screen. The Kraith usually attacked ships that could not defend themselves. They were bullies who picked on the weak, but they had never fought humans before. Nobody in this part of the galaxy had fought humans before. Amy finished cleaning up the message and played it again. The Valerian captain had a name that translated to Singing Wind. His voice was filled with fear and hope mixed together. He gave them exact coordinates and information about the enemy ships. He told them his shields were at 20% and dropping. His engines were damaged. His people were scared. Laura made her decision quickly. She stood up and spoke to her crew in a clear, strong voice. They were going to help. They would set course for Theta 7 immediately and push the engines as hard as they could safely manage. Every ship in the fleet was to go to battle stations and prepare for combat. The crew moved fast. Alarms sounded throughout the Valiant. People ran to their posts. Engineers checked weapons systems. Medical teams prepared the sickbay for possible casualties. Everyone knew this was serious. Laura sent a message back to the Valerian ship using all available frequencies. She kept it simple and direct. Help was coming. They just needed to hold on a little longer. Please keep their people safe and away from the outer walls of the ship. Below the main decks in the Marine section of the Valiant, Sergeant Kyle Davis was getting his squad ready. He was a veteran soldier with 10 years of combat experience. He had served in 3 different wars on Earth before joining the space fleet. He knew how to fight, and more importantly, he knew how to keep his people alive in a fight. His squad had 8 Marines. There was Corporal Megan Torres, who could shoot better than anyone Kyle had ever met. She could hit targets in zero gravity that most people could not hit standing still on solid ground. There was Private Danny Cruz, who was young but smart and never panicked. Private Alicia Ward was tough as nails and could carry twice her body weight in equipment. The others were equally skilled and ready. Kyle checked every piece of equipment carefully. Rifles, ammunition, armor, medical supplies, communication gear. Everything had to be perfect. If this turned into a boarding action, where they had to go onto the alien ship and fight the pirates face to face, there would be no room for mistakes. The fleet engaged their faster-than-light engines and jumped. For a few minutes, they traveled through a strange space where normal rules did not apply. To the crew, it felt like falling and standing still at the same time. Then they dropped back into normal space at the edge of the Theta 7 sector. What they saw made everyone on the bridge stop and stare. The Valerian colony ship was enormous. It was over 1 kilometer long, designed to carry thousands of people on journeys that took years. It looked more like a small city than a spaceship. But it was in bad shape. Parts of the hull were damaged. Atmosphere was leaking out in some places. The shields were flickering weakly. Surrounding the colony ship were the Kraith vessels. There were 17 of them, sleek and predatory-looking. They moved around the larger ship like sharks circling wounded prey. Several had already attached themselves to the Valerian hull and were probably sending boarding parties inside. Laura looked at her tactical officer. Jake was already working on a battle plan. The destroyers would hit them hard and fast from 2 directions. The frigates would provide covering fire and protect the colony ship. The Valiant would stay close to the Valerians in case they needed to send Marines across. Amy opened a communication channel and tried to contact the Valerian ship. For a moment there was only static. Then a face appeared on the main screen. It was definitely not human. The being had smooth skin that shimmered with colors like oil on water. Large eyes were positioned slightly to the sides of a head that looked somewhat like a dolphin. The mouth was different too, shaped in a way that suggested this species communicated with sounds humans could not naturally make. "This is Captain Singing Wind of the colony ship Peaceful Harbor," the alien said. The universal translator made his voice sound clear, but there was no hiding the emotion. Fear, hope, desperation all mixed together. "You are the humans? You actually came?" Laura stepped forward so the alien could see her clearly. "We received your distress call, Captain. We are here to help. Keep your people away from the outer walls and maintain whatever shields you have left. This is going to get rough." She turned to her crew and gave the order they had been waiting for. "All ships engage the enemy. Show them what humans could do." The battle was about to begin. The Kraith pirates had no idea what was about to happen to them. Captain Laura Bennett gave the order, and the human fleet moved into attack formation. The destroyers Mercury and Falcon broke away from the group and accelerated to full combat speed. Their weapons powered up with a sound that made the deck vibrate beneath the crew's feet. Commander Jake Morrison watched his tactical display with focus. Humans had been fighting wars against each other for thousands of years. They had learned hard lessons about combat. They knew how to hurt an enemy and hurt them badly. Now they would use all that knowledge against these alien pirates. The Kraith commander probably expected the human ships to send a message first, maybe to negotiate or ask questions. That was how things usually worked in this part of space. Most species talked first and fought later. But the Kraith had never met humans before. They did not understand that humans believed in hitting first and hitting hard. The Mercury fired its railguns. These were not laser weapons like most ships in the galaxy used. Railguns used magnetic force to throw chunks of metal at incredibly high speed. The projectiles moved so fast that nothing could stop them. 3 Kraith ships were hit at the same time. The results were terrible for the pirates. The metal slugs punched straight through their shields like they were not even there. Shields were designed to stop energy weapons, not solid objects moving at a large part of light speed. The impacts tore through hulls and destroyed critical systems. 2 of the pirate ships started spinning out of control, air and debris spraying into space. The 3rd ship simply exploded in a ball of fire. On the bridge of the Valiant, Lieutenant Amy Parker opened communications with the Valerian colony ship. A face appeared on the screen. It was Captain Singing Wind, the alien who had sent the distress call. He looked like no human Amy had ever seen, with smooth, shimmering skin and large eyes, but the expression on his face was easy to understand. It was hope mixed with disbelief. "This is Captain Singing Wind of the colony ship Peaceful Harbor," he said, his voice shaking. "You are the humans? You actually came?" Laura moved into view of the camera. "We received your distress call, Captain. We are here to help. Keep your people away from the outer walls and maintain what shields you have. This is going to get rough." The Kraith were starting to react now. Their initial shock was wearing off. A dozen pirate ships broke away from the colony vessel and formed up to attack the human fleet. They moved in a pattern that was clearly well practiced. "Swarm the enemy with more ships than they can handle. Overwhelm their defenses. Board any ships that survive." But the Kraith did not understand something important. Humans had always been outnumbered in their wars. Every major battle in human history taught the same lesson. Having more ships or more soldiers did not matter if you did not have better tactics, better training, and the will to keep fighting when things got bad. The 3 frigate ships, led by Commander Pete Harrison on the Defender, did something that looked crazy at first. They moved forward as if they were going to attack the Kraith ships head-on. The pirates saw easy targets and accelerated to intercept, but it was a trap. As the pirate ships got close, the frigates suddenly scattered in different directions. The Kraith found themselves in the middle of a kill zone with no cover and no way out. The Valiant had been waiting for this moment. Laura gave the order to fire everything. The Valiant opened up with every weapon it had. Point defense lasers designed to shoot down incoming missiles tore through the lighter Kraith ships. Armor that was meant to protect against other pirate weapons could not handle the concentrated fire from military-grade systems. Missile pods deployed from the Valiant's sides and released a swarm of smart missiles. These were not simple rockets. Each one had its own computer brain and could adjust its course to hit moving targets. The Kraith had no defense against this kind of attack. Their ships were built for raiding, not for fighting real warships. Within minutes, 7 more pirate vessels were destroyed or so badly damaged they were no longer a threat. Down in the Marine Ready Room, Sergeant Kyle Davis watched the battle on a screen. His team was strapped into their combat armor, ready to move out. He knew what was coming. The space battle might be going well, but several Kraith ships had already attached to the Valerian colony ship. Boarding parties would be inside right now threatening the civilians. "Listen up, Marines," Kyle said over the squad channel. "We are going to board the peaceful harbor and get those pirates out. Remember your training? These Kraith are used to fighting civilians who can't fight back. They are not used to trained soldiers. We move fast, we hit hard, and we bring those people home safe." Corporal Megan Torres checked her rifle one more time. It was an older design, using chemical propellants to fire bullets instead of energy beams. Most alien species thought humans were primitive for still using such weapons. But bullets worked. They worked very well. "Think they will try to surrender when they see us, Sarge?" Kyle smiled, but there was no humor in it. "I do not think they are going to get the chance." The order came through from Captain Bennett. The Valiant moved closer to the Valerian ship, matching its speed and direction. Docking tubes extended from the side of the human warship and locked onto the colony vessel's hull with magnetic clamps. The connection was secure. "Marines, move out," came the order. Kyle led his squad through the docking port and into the alien ship. The moment he stepped through, he knew this was going to be challenging. The air was breathable but thick and humid. It smelled like the ocean. The gravity was lighter than Earth normal, about 80%, which meant they had to be careful not to jump too high with each step. The corridors were wide and curved, with walls that glowed with a soft blue-green light. Under other circumstances, it might have been beautiful. But right now, all Kyle could think about was the civilians in danger and the enemies they needed to stop. Megan moved to the front of the group. Her rifle had special sensors that could detect heat and movement through walls. "Got contacts up ahead, Sarge. Multiple hostiles about 50 meters away. Looks like 6 or 7, and they have people surrounded." Kyle signaled for the squad to move forward in tactical formation. They advanced quietly through the alien ship, their boots making almost no sound. They moved like they had trained to move, like they had done hundreds of times in practice. But this was real now. They came around a corner and saw exactly what Megan's sensors had shown. A group of Kraith pirates had cornered about 20 Valerian civilians in what looked like a living area. The aliens looked terrified, huddled together. The pirates were tall, maybe 7 feet, with thick skin that looked like armor. They had multiple eyes and mouths full of sharp teeth. They wore bits and pieces of armor taken from different species and carried weapons that looked cobbled together from various sources. The pirates were shouting at the Valerians in a harsh language. They waved their weapons around, clearly threatening the civilians. One of the Kraith grabbed a Valerian child and lifted it off the ground. The child's parents screamed. Kyle did not give a warning. The pirates were threatening civilians. That was all he needed to see. He raised his rifle and his squad did the same. "Fire," he said quietly. The fight was over in seconds. The Kraith had armor that protected them from energy weapons, but they had never encountered bullets before. The solid projectiles, moving at supersonic speed, punched through their armor like it was made of paper. The impacts caused massive trauma to their bodies. 3 pirates went down in the first second. The others tried to return fire, but they were confused. Energy weapons gave off a glow when charging. Bullets did not. The pirates were looking for a warning that never came. 7 pirates lay on the ground, dead or dying. Not one civilian had been hurt. The Valerians stared at the human Marines with wide eyes. They clearly did not know if they should be grateful or terrified. Kyle lowered his weapon and removed his helmet. He thought showing his face might help the aliens feel less scared. "We are here to help," he said clearly. The translator in his armor would change his words into something the Valerians could understand. "Stay here and stay down. We are going to clear the rest of the ship." One of the Valerians, an older one with silver markings on his skin, stepped forward carefully. "You are the humans? The Deathworlders?" "That is right," Kyle confirmed. "And right now, we are the best friends you have got. How many more civilians are on this ship?" The elder's eyes seemed to shimmer with emotion. "There are people scattered all over the ship. Maybe 2,000 in different sections. The Kraith came so fast, we had no time to get everyone to safe places." "Then we better move quickly," Kyle said. He put his helmet back on and spoke into his radio.
"Captain Bennett, this is Davis. We have secured our first group of civilians."
Requesting more Marine teams. "This ship is big and there are hostages everywhere." Laura's voice came back immediately. "Understood, Sergeant. The Falcon and Mercury are sending their Marines over now. The Kraith fleet is pulling back, but we still have at least 3 of their ships attached to the colony vessel. Estimate 50 to 75 pirates still on board." Kyle looked at his squad. They had a lot of work to do. But that was fine. This was what they trained for. This was what they were good at. And those pirates were about to learn a hard lesson. Sergeant Kyle Davis led his squad deeper into the Valerian colony ship. The Marines moved quickly but carefully through the curved corridors. Every corner could hide an enemy. Every room could contain hostages or pirates or both. They had to be ready for anything. Private Danny Cruz stayed close to Kyle's left side while Corporal Megan Torres covered the right. The rest of the squad fanned out in a protective formation. They had done this kind of operation many times in training, but training was different from reality. In training, nobody actually died. The ship's design was strange to human eyes. The walls curved in ways that made no sense for a vessel built by humans. The lighting was dim and blue-green, making everything look like it was underwater. The air was thick and warm. It felt like walking through a tropical forest back on Earth. Megan checked her sensors again. "Got more contacts ahead, Sarge. Looks like a big open space with lots of heat signatures." "Could be more civilians," Kyle nodded. They moved forward until they came to a large doorway. Beyond it was an enormous room that stretched up through multiple levels. It looked like the heart of the colony ship, a place where people gathered to socialize and relax. Under normal circumstances, it would have been pleasant. Right now it was a nightmare. Dozens of Valerian civilians were huddled in groups throughout the space. And surrounding them were Kraith pirates. Kyle counted quickly. At least 15 hostiles, maybe more. They had positioned themselves at strategic points where they could watch all the civilians at once. Some of the pirates were actively threatening the Valerians, waving weapons and shouting. Others were going through the aliens' belongings, taking anything that looked valuable. One pirate had grabbed a Valerian female and was dragging her away from a group of children. The children were making high-pitched sounds that the translator said were screams of distress. The female was trying to fight back, but she was no match for the much larger Kraith. Kyle felt anger rise in his chest. He had seen bullies before. He had dealt with people who hurt others just because they could. That was one reason he had become a soldier. To stop people like this, to protect those who could not protect themselves. But this situation was complex. They could not just start shooting. There were too many civilians in the line of fire. One stray bullet could kill an innocent person. They needed a better plan. He pulled his squad back around the corner and spoke quietly into his radio. "Captain Bennett, this is Davis. We have a situation. Multiple hostiles with hundreds of hostages in a large open area. We need backup and we need a coordinated attack plan." Laura's voice came back clear and steady. "Understood. Hold position. We have 2 more Marine squads almost to your location. Wait for them to arrive and then plan your assault together." Kyle did not like waiting. Every second that passed was another second those civilians were in danger. But he also knew that rushing in without a plan would just get people killed. So he waited. And while he waited, he studied the room through a small gap in the doorway. The Kraith were getting nervous. They had probably heard the sounds of fighting elsewhere on the ship. They knew something was wrong. Pirates were not stupid. They understood when a situation was turning against them, and nervous pirates with hostages were unpredictable and dangerous. 5 minutes later, 2 more Marine squads arrived. One was led by Lieutenant Barry Stone from the Mercury. The other was led by Sergeant Lisa Grant from the Falcon. Both were experienced combat leaders. Kyle quickly explained the situation and showed them what they were facing. "We need to hit them from multiple directions at once," Kyle said. "If we give them time to react, they might start killing hostages." Lisa studied the room layout on her tactical display. "There are access points on the upper levels. My squad can come in from above and take out the pirates positioned up high, but we will need a distraction to keep them looking the wrong way." Barry pointed to another entrance on the opposite side of the large room. "My team can circle around and come in from that direction. If we time it right, we can catch them in a crossfire." Kyle thought about it. "We also need someone to come up from below. There are maintenance tunnels according to the ship's layout. If we can get a team into those tunnels, they can pop up right in the middle of the pirates' positions." Megan volunteered immediately. "My team can take the tunnels, Sarge. We are smaller and can move fast through tight spaces." The plan came together quickly. 3 teams would attack from 3 different directions. Lisa's squad would come from above. Barry's squad would come from the side. Megan's team would emerge from the maintenance tunnels in the center of the room. And Kyle's remaining Marines would create a distraction at the main entrance. They synchronized their movements using the communication network. Everyone needed to be in position at exactly the same time. One team moving too early or too late would ruin everything. Megan led her 4-person team through a service hatch and down into the maintenance tunnels. The spaces were cramped and dark. They had to crawl in some places, but they moved quietly and quickly. After several minutes, they found an access panel that opened into the large room right behind the main group of pirates. Lisa's squad climbed up to the 3rd level of the room, using an external stairway. They moved silently, weapons ready. From their elevated position, they could see the entire space below. It was a perfect sniper position. Barry's team circled around the outside of the room and found the secondary entrance. It was locked, but they had tools to deal with that. They carefully opened the door just enough to see through, but not enough to be noticed. Kyle and his remaining Marines stood at the main entrance. They had flashbang grenades ready. These were devices that created a bright flash of light and a very loud noise. They would blind and deafen anyone nearby for several seconds. It would be the perfect distraction. Everyone reported ready. Kyle counted down. 3, 2, 1, execute. Everything happened at once. Kyle threw 3 flashbang grenades into the room. They bounced across the floor and detonated with a sound like thunder. The light was so bright it could be seen even through closed eyes. The pirates were completely unprepared. They screamed and covered their faces. In that moment of confusion, the 3 attack teams moved. Lisa's squad opened fire from above, their aim perfect despite the chaos. 3 pirates went down before they even knew they were under attack. Barry's squad came through the side entrance, their weapons finding targets with deadly accuracy. 4 more pirates fell. Megan's team burst out of the maintenance access right in the middle of the pirate group. The Kraith had been focused on threats from outside. They never expected an attack from below and behind. Megan dropped 2 pirates in 2 seconds. Her team accounted for 3 more. Kyle's squad charged through the main entrance. The pirates were completely surrounded and totally confused. Some tried to grab Valerian civilians as shields, but the Marines were too fast. Any pirate who made a threatening move toward a civilian was shot immediately. The entire fight lasted less than a minute. 15 pirates lay dead. Not a single civilian had been injured. The Valerians sat in shocked silence, unable to believe what had just happened. Kyle walked into the room slowly with his weapon lowered. He removed his helmet again and looked at the frightened aliens. "It is over," he said clearly. "You are safe now. We are here to protect you." One of the Valerian children, a small one with light blue skin, slowly approached Kyle. The child was shaking, but also curious. It reached out a small hand and touched Kyle's armor. Then it looked up at him with large, expressive eyes. Kyle knelt down to be at the child's level. "Hey there, little one. You were very brave. Everything is going to be okay now." The child made a sound that the translator said was somewhere between a laugh and a purr. It was a sound of relief and happiness. Other Valerians started to approach the Marines. Some were crying. Others were trying to thank the humans in their musical language. An elderly Valerian with silver markings stepped forward. Kyle recognized him as the same one who had spoken earlier. You saved us, the elder said. The Deathworlders saved us. I do not understand. We were told your kind were dangerous. Kyle stood up and looked at the elder directly. We are dangerous, he said honestly. Earth made us tough because it had to. Our world is harsh and deadly. But we did not become strong just to hurt others. We became strong to protect each other, and now we protect anyone who needs it. The elder's eyes shimmered with emotion. Then perhaps the galaxy has been wrong about what makes a Deathworlder. Perhaps it is not about being deadly. Perhaps it is about choosing what to do with that power. More Marine teams were arriving now, sweeping through the rest of the ship. They found scattered groups of pirates and dealt with them quickly. Some Kraith tried to hide. Others tried to fight. None of them succeeded. The Marines were better trained, better equipped, and fighting for something that mattered. The pirates were just thugs who had gotten used to picking on the weak. 2 hours after the Marines had first boarded, the peaceful harbor was secure. Every pirate had been eliminated. Every civilian had been accounted for and protected. Medical teams from the human ships came across to treat the wounded. There were injuries, but no more deaths. Captain Singing Wind made his way through the ship to meet with the Marine commanders. He walked slowly. Captain Laura Bennett stood on the bridge of the Valiant and watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The space battle was over. Of the 17 Kraith pirate ships that had attacked the Valerian colony vessel, 12 were destroyed or floating dead in space. The remaining 5 had fled at maximum speed and were now far beyond sensor range. The human fleet had taken minimal damage. One of the frigates had some problems with its shield generators, but nothing serious. No human casualties. It was a clean victory by any measure. But Laura knew the space battle was only half the story. The real test had been inside the peaceful harbor, where her Marines had fought to save civilians from brutal pirates. Reports were coming in now from all the squad leaders. Every section of the colony ship had been cleared. Every pirate eliminated. Every civilian accounted for and safe. Commander Jake Morrison walked over with a data pad. Final count, Captain. We eliminated 73 Kraith boarders. No enemy survivors. On our side, we have 2 Marines with minor injuries. Nothing serious. The Valerians lost 11 civilians in the initial attack before we arrived, but we managed to save everyone else. Laura nodded slowly. 11 deaths were 11 too many, but it could have been so much worse. If the human fleet had not responded, if they had hesitated or delayed, thousands would have died. What about the Valerian ship? Can it travel? Their engineers are working with our repair teams now, Jake reported. The damage is significant but not fatal. They can limp to the nearest space station if we escort them. Should take about 3 days at low speed. Lieutenant Amy Parker looked up from her communication station. Captain, we are receiving a message from Captain Singing Wind. He requests permission to come aboard the Valiant. He wants to meet with you personally. Grant permission, Laura said immediately. Have him meet us in the main conference room. And Amy, please join us. Your work coordinating the Marine teams made a big difference today. An hour later, Laura stood in the conference room waiting for the Valerian captain. The room was simple and functional, designed for military briefings and planning sessions. It felt cold compared to the warm, curved spaces of the alien colony ship. The door opened and Captain Singing Wind entered. He was accompanied by 2 other Valerians who appeared to be senior members of his crew. The alien captain moved slowly and Laura could see bandages under his uniform. He had been hurt in the fight but had insisted on coming anyway. Singing Wind saw Laura and bowed deeply. It was clearly a gesture of great respect in his culture. Captain Bennett, he said through the universal translator, I am honored to meet the leader of the Deathworlders who saved my people. Laura returned the bow, though she felt awkward doing it. Captain Singing Wind, the honor is mine. I am glad we arrived in time to help. Please sit down. You look like you need to rest. The Valerians settled into chairs that had been adjusted for their different body shape. Singing Wind leaned forward and his large eyes fixed on Laura. I must ask you something that has been troubling me. Why did you come? Your people have only just joined the galactic community. You owe us nothing. We are strangers from a species you had never heard of until today. Yet you risked your ships and your lives to answer our call. Why? Laura thought about the question. Because it was the right thing to do, she said simply. We heard someone calling for help. We had the ability to respond, so we did. Is it different in this part of the galaxy? One of the other Valerians, an older female with darker markings, spoke up. It is very different, Captain. Most species in the Galactic Council are peaceful. We have advanced technology and we explore the stars with wonder and joy. But we are not warriors. We do not understand conflict the way you do. When the Kraith and others like them threaten us, we usually try to negotiate or pay them to leave us alone. And that just makes them bolder, Jake said. He had been standing quietly by the wall, but now he stepped forward. Bullies do not stop when you give them what they want. They just come back for more. You have to stand up to them. You have to show them there are consequences. Singing Wind's expression changed in a way that might have been a sad smile. Your commander speaks truth. For decades, the Kraith have grown more aggressive. They take what they want and we do nothing but file protests with the Council. We tell ourselves we are civilized beings who solve problems through dialogue. But how do you have dialogue with someone who only understands force? Amy had been listening quietly, but now she asked a question. Captain Singing Wind, you specifically asked for human help in your distress call. How did you know to call us? We have only been in contact with the Galactic Council for 3 months. The Valerian captain's eyes seemed to shimmer. I have made it my business to study humanity since first contact was made. While others on the council were debating whether to approach you or fear you, I read everything I could find about your species. I read your histories. I studied your philosophies and your art, and I learned something important. What did you learn? Laura asked. I learned that Earth is indeed a death world. Your planet is harsh and unforgiving, gravity that would crush many species, weather that kills, predators that hunt. Your ancestors had to be tough just to survive, and yes, that made you dangerous. You're very, very dangerous. Singing Wind paused and his voice became softer. But I also learned that you are dangerous for a reason. You did not become strong to prey on others. You became strong to protect your families, your communities, your species. When I read about human history, I saw countless examples of humans risking themselves to save others, running into burning buildings to rescue strangers, jumping into rivers to save drowning children, fighting overwhelming odds to defend those who could not defend themselves. He looked at each human in the room. So when my ship was under attack and my people were dying, I knew who to call. I called the Deathworlders. Not because you are the most peaceful species, not because you would negotiate with the Kraith, but because you would fight for us. Because protecting others is what you do. The room was quiet for a moment. Laura felt something tighten in her chest. This alien, this being from another world who looked nothing like a human, understood something that even many humans forgot sometimes. Strength was not about dominance. It was about protection. You took a big risk, Laura said finally. We could have been exactly what the Council fears. We could have been conquerors or colonizers. Perhaps, Singing Wind agreed, but I did not think so. And I was willing to bet the lives of my people on that belief. Thank the stars I was correct. Jake pulled up a star chart on the room's display screen. Captain, we are going to escort you to Station Unity. It is the closest major council facility. It will take 3 days at your ship's current maximum speed. We will stay with you the entire way to make sure no one else tries to attack. You have already done so much, Singing Wind protested. Surely you have other duties, other places you need to be. Right now our duty is making sure you and your people reach safety, Laura said firmly. That is non-negotiable. Besides, I think it is time the Galactic Council and humanity had a longer conversation. This incident shows we have things to offer each other. One of Singing Wind's crew members spoke up. The Council will want to know everything that happened here. Some will be grateful, but others will be more afraid of humans than ever. They will say this proves you are too dangerous, too violent. Amy smiled slightly. Let them be afraid. But let them also remember that when peaceful people needed help, humans showed up. Maybe that is the kind of dangerous the galaxy needs. Over the next 3 days, the human fleet escorted the peaceful harbor toward Station Unity. During that time, news of the rescue spread through galactic communication networks. The story grew with each retelling. The Deathworlders had destroyed a Kraith fleet. The human Marines had eliminated over 70 pirates without harming a single hostage. It seemed impossible, but it was all true. Other ships began to change their routes to pass near the human fleet. They wanted to see the Deathworlders with their own eyes. Some were curious. Some were respectful. A few seemed frightened. But all of them maintained a safe distance. On the second day, they received a message from the Kraith. It was brief and to the point. The pirate organization formally apologized for attacking a ship under human protection. They claimed it was a mistake. that they had not known humans were involved. The message ended with a promise that the Kraith would avoid any ships or territory associated with humanity in the future. Kyle read the message and laughed. They are scared. Good. Maybe they will think twice before attacking civilians now. Megan was playing a game with several Valerian children in one of the Valiant's cargo bays. The children had been traumatized by the attack, and the human crew had been trying to help them feel safe again. Somehow, the armored Marines who had terrified the pirates made the children feel protected. One small Valerian who had been hiding during the fight kept following Megan everywhere. The child's parent explained that she felt safe near the human who had found her. Megan did not mind. She carried extra candy bars in her pack and shared them with the kids. Apparently, human chocolate was interesting to Valerian taste buds. On the third day, Station Unity appeared on the sensors. It was enormous, a city in space that housed. Station Unity was unlike anything the human crew had ever seen. The docking bay alone was larger than most cities on Earth. Ships from dozens of different species moved through the space in organized patterns. Some were sleek and beautiful. Others were strange and organic-looking. A few seemed to defy the basic laws of physics that humans understood. Captain Laura Bennett led a small delegation from the Valiant onto the station. With her were Commander Jake Morrison, Lieutenant Amy Parker, and Sergeant Kyle Davis. They wore their dress uniforms, clean and formal, but everyone could see they were military personnel. There was no hiding what they were. A welcoming party waited for them at the end of the docking tunnel. At the center was a being unlike anything in the human database. He stood nearly 8 feet tall with 4 arms and skin that glowed with soft patterns of bioluminescent light. His eyes were large and ancient, suggesting a wisdom that came from a very long life. Captain Bennett, the being said, his voice surprisingly gentle. I am Elder Wisdom Keeper of the Cartharian people. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I welcome you to Station Unity. Your actions in saving the peaceful harbor have not gone unnoticed. Laura and her team bowed slightly, a gesture of respect they had learned from Captain Singing Wind. Elder Wisdom Keeper, thank you for receiving us. We are honored to be here. The Elder's bioluminescent patterns shifted in a way that might have been a smile. Please, come with me. The council chamber is prepared. We have much to discuss. As they walked through the station, Laura noticed how other beings reacted to their presence. Some watched with open curiosity. Others seemed nervous and kept their distance. A few smaller species actually moved to the far side of the corridor as the humans passed. Amy leaned close to Laura and whispered, They are afraid of us. Can you blame them? Laura whispered back. They have been told we come from a death world. Now they have seen what we can do in a fight. Fear is a natural response. The council chamber was a vast circular room with seats arranged in tiers. Dozens of different species were represented, each delegation sitting in a section designed for their specific needs. Some breathed different atmospheres and sat behind force fields. Others needed different gravity and floated in special platforms. The diversity was overwhelming. Elder Wisdom Keeper led the humans to a central platform. You will address the council from here. Please, tell us in your own words what happened at the Theta 7 sector. The council wishes to hear directly from those who were there. Laura stepped forward and began to speak. She kept her language simple and clear. She explained how they had received the distress call, how they had decided to respond without hesitation, how the space battle had gone, how the Marines had boarded the colony ship and eliminated the pirate threat. She did not make excuses and she did not exaggerate. She simply told the truth. When she finished, the chamber was silent. Then an alien from one of the upper tiers spoke. This being was insectoid with multiple legs and compound eyes. Captain Bennett, you say you responded to the distress call immediately. You did not contact the council for guidance? You did not attempt to negotiate with the Kraith first? No, Laura said honestly. We saw civilians in danger. We had the capability to help. Every moment we delayed was another moment those people were at risk. As for negotiating with pirates who were actively attacking a colony ship, that seemed like a waste of time that could cost lives. Another delegate spoke up. This one was reptilian with scales that changed color. But you killed 73 sentient beings. You did not attempt to capture them or offer them a chance to surrender? Kyle stepped forward before Laura could respond. With respect, Counselor, those pirates were threatening and harming civilians. They had weapons and were using them. In that situation, the safety of the hostages was our first priority. We did not give the pirates time to hurt more people. We stopped the threat as quickly and efficiently as possible. A third delegate, this one appearing almost like a living cloud of gas, spoke in a voice that sounded like wind chimes. This is what concerns many of us human. Your species solves problems with violence. You are efficient killers. How do we know you will not turn that violence against us? The chamber erupted in conversation. Some delegates seemed to agree with the concern. Others argued against it. The humans stood on their platform and waited for the noise to die down. Elder Wisdom Keeper raised one of his forehands, and the chamber fell silent. Let us hear from Captain Singing Wind. He was there. He called for human help. Let him speak. The Valerian captain walked slowly to the center of the room. His injuries were still visible, but he stood straight and proud. Honored council members, I will tell you something that many of you do not wish to hear. We are cowards. Shocked sounds filled the chamber. Singing Wind continued. We are peaceful, yes. We are civilized, yes. We have wonderful technology and beautiful cultures. But when evil comes to harm us, we do nothing. We file protests. We have discussions. We wring our hands and hope the problem goes away. And while we do that, innocent people die. He turned to look at the human delegation. These humans did not hesitate. They did not debate. They saw people in danger and they acted. Yes, they killed the pirates, but those pirates were given a choice. They could have left the civilians alone. They could have fled when the human ships arrived. They chose to continue threatening innocent lives. The humans simply made them face the consequences of that choice. An older delegate, one of the founding members of the council, spoke in a trembling voice. But violence begets violence, Captain. If we allow this, if we accept humans using force so casually, where does it end? Do we become like the Kraith ourselves? Laura spoke up again. Counselor, there is a difference between using force to take what you want and using force to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Humans understand violence because our world forced us to, but we also developed ethics, morality, and rules of engagement. We do not prey on the weak. We defend them, Jake added his thoughts. The Kraith and others like them have operated freely because you cannot or will not stop them. That is not civilized behavior, counselors. That is enabling evil by refusing to confront it. Sometimes the only way to deal with those who use violence for personal gain is to meet them with equal force in defense of the innocent. Elder Wisdom Keeper's patterns pulsed slowly. Captain Bennett, humanity has been in contact with the Council for only 3 months. In that time, we have learned much about you. Your planet Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world. This is the highest danger rating we have. Very few species in the galaxy evolved on such hostile worlds. Those that did are invariably dangerous. He paused and his ancient eyes focused on Laura. But I have studied your history, your culture, your stories, and I have learned something that the classification system does not capture. Yes, you are dangerous, but you are dangerous in the way a guard dog is dangerous. You protect those in your pack. You fight threats to your family. You do not attack without cause, but you do not back down from a fight when innocents are at stake. The elder turned to address the entire council. I propose that the council formally recognize humanity as a protector species. We offer full council membership, access to our technology and knowledge, and trading rights across all council space. In exchange, humanity agrees to provide military assistance and training. Not to fight our wars, but to teach us how to defend ourselves and to respond when peaceful methods fail. The chamber erupted again. Some delegates were clearly in favor. Others strongly opposed. Arguments flew back and forth in dozens of languages. The humans stood quietly and watched as the fate of their species' galactic future was debated. Finally, after nearly an hour of discussion, Elder Wisdom Keeper called for a vote. The process was complex, with each species casting votes based on various factors. But eventually the results came through. The measure passed, not unanimously but by a clear majority. Humanity was officially recognized as a member of the Galactic Council, with special status as a protector species. Laura felt relief wash over her. This was bigger than anything she had expected when they responded to that distress call. This would change everything for humanity. After the session ended, Elder Wisdom Keeper approached the human delegation privately. Captain Bennett, I must be honest with you. Some members of the council voted in favor not because they trust humans, but because they fear what might happen if they do not have you as allies. They would rather have you working with us than potentially against us. I understand, Laura said. Trust has to be earned. We will prove that humanity can be trusted to use our strength responsibly. The Elder's patterns brightened. I believe you will. But there will be challenges ahead. Other aggressive species besides the Kraith exist in the galaxy. Some will test you to see if the stories about human warriors are true. Some may even try to provoke conflict to make you look bad in the eyes of the Council. Kyle had been listening quietly. Let them try, he said simply. We know who we are. We know what we stand for. Actions speak louder than words. We will show the galaxy what humanity is really about. Over the next few days, the human delegation met with representatives from various council species. Some wanted to establish trade agreements. Others wanted to discuss. 3 months had passed since the rescue of the peaceful harbor. The galaxy had changed in ways both obvious and subtle. Station Unity now had a permanent human presence, with a small embassy and a rotation of military advisors. Human ships patrolled sectors that had once been vulnerable to pirate attacks. And most importantly, the attacks themselves had dropped dramatically. Captain Laura Bennett had been promoted to admiral. She now commanded a joint task force of human and council ships. It was an experiment in cooperation, bringing together species that had never worked closely before. The challenges were enormous, but so were the rewards. On Earth, the news of humanity's role in galactic affairs was met with mixed feelings. Some people were proud that humans were helping others. Some worried about getting involved in conflicts that were not their business. Politicians debated. News shows argued. But the military quietly continued training and preparing for whatever came next. Aboard the Valiant, now the flagship of the Joint Task Force, Commander Jake Morrison reviewed the latest intelligence reports. The Kraith had virtually disappeared from Council space. A few minor pirate groups still operated, but they were careful to avoid any ships that might have human protection. The mere possibility that humans might respond was enough to make many criminals think twice. Lieutenant Amy Parker had taken on a new role as liaison between human and alien crew members. It was not an easy job. Different species had different ways of thinking, different ideas about hierarchy and command structure, different physical needs. But slowly, they were learning to work together. One of the biggest successes was in the Marine Division. Sergeant Kyle Davis now led a mixed squad of humans and aliens. It had taken time to find species that could keep up with human physical capabilities, but a few had proven capable. The Valorians, a species from a high-gravity world, were almost as strong as humans. The Swift Ones, bird-like beings with incredible reflexes, could move through zero gravity better than any human. Together, they made a formidable team. Corporal Megan Torres had become something of a celebrity in Council space. The story of the human Marine who saved Valerian children had spread far and wide. She received messages from across the galaxy. Some were from grateful civilians. Others were from young aliens who wanted to join the new joint military forces. She tried to answer as many as she could. One morning, a new distress call came through. It was from a mining colony in the Outer Territories. They were under attack by an unknown hostile force. The colony had only basic defenses and could not hold out for long. Laura read the report and immediately ordered the task force to respond. This was exactly what they had been created for. The fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel and headed toward the colony. When they arrived, the situation was worse than expected. The attacking ships were not pirates. They were military vessels from a species called the Zarn. The Zarn were not members of the Galactic Council. They were an aggressive empire that had been slowly expanding their territory for decades. The Council had always avoided confronting them, preferring to negotiate and make compromises. But the Zarn had apparently decided to test the new Human Council alliance. They were attacking a Council mining colony to see what would happen. It was a calculated provocation. Laura studied the tactical situation. There were 8 Zarn warships surrounding the colony. They were more advanced than the Kraith pirates had been. This would not be an easy fight. But the colony was signaling for help and there were thousands of civilians down there. She opened a communication channel to the Zarn fleet commander. A face appeared on screen. The Zarn looked almost human but with features that were slightly off. The eyes were too far apart. The skin had a gray tint. The expression was cold and calculating. This is Admiral Laura Bennett of the Earth Defense Fleet and Galactic Council Joint Task Force. You are attacking a Council colony. Cease your assault immediately and withdraw from this system. The Zarn commander smiled in a way that did not reach his eyes. Admiral Bennett, the famous human warrior, we have heard much about you. But this colony is in disputed territory. The Council has no authority here. The beings on that colony are under Council protection, Laura said firmly. The territory dispute is a matter for diplomats to resolve. But attacking civilians is not acceptable. You have one opportunity to withdraw peacefully. The Zarn commander laughed. Or what, you will attack us? We have been fighting wars since before your species learned to make fire. Do you really think a handful of primitive Deathworlders frightens us? Laura's expression did not change. I think you are about to find out. You have 5 minutes to begin withdrawing. After that, we will remove you by force. The Zarn commander cut the communication. His ships did not move to leave. Instead, they formed up in an attack pattern. They were going to fight. Jake looked at Laura with concern. Admiral, we are outnumbered and they have more advanced weapons. This could get ugly. I know, Laura said quietly, but we cannot let them attack civilians. If we back down now, every aggressive species in the galaxy will think the Human Council alliance is weak. We have to stand our ground. The 5 minutes passed. The Zarn ships opened fire on the colony below. Buildings exploded. People died. It was a deliberate escalation, designed to provoke the humans into making a mistake. Laura gave the order to engage. The joint task force moved into attack formation. Human ships and council vessels working together for the first time in real combat. The battle that followed was fierce. The Zarn were experienced warriors and their weapons were powerful. But they had made a critical mistake. They had assumed that humans were just another species. They did not understand what it meant to have evolved on a death world where only the strongest survived. Human tactics were different from anything the Zarn had encountered. Instead of the straightforward approach that most species used, the human ships employed deception, misdirection, and aggressive maneuvering that seemed reckless but was actually carefully calculated. The Valiant took a direct hit that knocked out one of its shield generators. But instead of falling back, Laura ordered the ship to accelerate toward the enemy. The Zarn commander was confused. A damaged ship should retreat, not attack. But that was exactly what made the tactic work. While the Zarn focused on the Valiant, the rest of the fleet attacked from multiple angles. The destroyers Mercury and Falcon targeted the Zarn command ship with coordinated railgun strikes. The Council ships, following human tactics for the first time, provided covering fire and electronic warfare support. Kyle and his mixed Marine squad prepared to board one of the Zarn vessels. It was a risky move, but necessary. They needed to capture command codes to shut down the bombardment of the colony. The boarding action was intense. The Zarn were tough opponents, much more capable than the Kraith pirates had been. But the mixed human-alien squad worked together perfectly. The humans provided aggressive assault tactics. The Valorians matched their strength and resilience. The Swift Ones moved through the enemy ship with incredible speed, hitting targets from unexpected angles. Megan led her team through narrow corridors, her rifle finding targets with deadly accuracy. A Zarn soldier twice her size charged at her. She sidestepped and let one of the Valorian Marines handle it. The alien grabbed the Zarn and threw him against a wall with tremendous force. Teamwork. They reached the command center and secured it after a brief but violent fight. Kyle accessed the Zarn computer systems and downloaded command codes. With these, they could shut down the weapons targeting the colony. Back in space, the battle was turning in favor of the joint task force. 2 Zarn ships were disabled. A third was retreating with heavy damage. The remaining 5 were still fighting, but their formation was broken. Laura transmitted the captured command codes to the Zarn fleet. Commander, I now have control of your weapon systems. I can shut them down remotely. You have lost this engagement. Withdraw now and no more of your people need to die. The Zarn commander appeared on screen again. His cold expression had changed to one of shock and anger. No one had ever defeated his fleet before. No one had ever boarded his ships and stolen command codes. These humans had done both. You are more dangerous than we were told, he said quietly. The report said you were primitive warriors. But you fight like nothing we have encountered. We fight to protect those who cannot protect themselves, Laura said. That is what makes us different. This did not have to happen. You could have withdrawn when I asked. Now 3 of your ships are destroyed and hundreds of your crew are dead. Was it worth it? The Zarn commander was silent for a long moment. Then he gave the order for his remaining ships to withdraw. The battle was over. On the colony below, rescue teams worked to help the survivors. The damage was significant. Dozens of buildings destroyed. Over 100 colonists killed. It was a tragedy. But it would have been so much worse if the task force had not responded. Laura walked through the colony with several council officials. An elderly alien, a member of a species she had never met before, approached her. He walked with a cane and his body was frail, but his eyes were clear and grateful. "Admiral Bennett," he said through a translator, "you saved us. When we saw those warships, we thought we were doomed, but you came. The humans came. Not just human.